Coming to a YouTube channel near you.
Well, hello there, everybody. How is everybody doing this evening? How about you, Jacob?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Chris. I'm not seeing you on the screen for some reason, but I see me. So, y'all, this is a new experiment. Grizz has been trying to teach me how to do the behind the scenes stuff. So be patient if it was a little rockier than normal. But he's a very patient teacher, and I'm sure I'll get it over time here. So.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. So welcome to our show. I am Althea Jacob, and this is Spiritual Street Talk with Althea. Thank you for joining us tonight. Lots going on this week. How about for you, Grizz? What's been happening for you?
Oh, getting ready to move. It's terrible, right?
It's you know what got me when I was moving was how darn expensive boxes were. Like you take for granted, like it's just cardboard, right? It's like, oh my gosh. But that's where Costco and your local liquor store become your best friends because you can get all kinds of big boxes from them to help. But yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today for anybody who's read the news, whether you're a Catholic or not, there's a new pope. And this is the first time an American cardinal, and he was the cardinal from Chicago, so a Midwest man, has become a pope. And I believe he chose Pope Leo. I think was what he chose. But anyway, that's kind of a big deal in the Catholic world, but also he's somebody that is the Pope's not just a figurehead, right? Because he's both a political personage, because Vatican City is a huge city that he's in charge of, as well as being the spiritual shepherd for everybody. So that's in the Catholic Church. So it's kind of a big deal that now we have an American there, because we have, we're babies compared to a lot of the other cultures out there. I remember when I worked internationally for a while, and I was stationed over in Europe, and the difference between our culture here in America, 200 years old, to most things over in Europe being 2,000 years old was just, blew my mind, right? You can walk down certain streets and towns and you see architecture and sculptures and frescoes that have been there for thousands of years. And you're like, what? This is amazing. Right. And then before I came home, I went to Egypt, and there, that culture's been there for 10,000 years. Right. And inside the pyramids and tombs, there's paintings and reliefs and things that are still there, 10,000 years later. And you're like, what is going on with that? So we have that newness, that maybe the unconventional, out of the box thinking, which is why America became so successful and became that shining beacon on the hill, right? Because we had that sense of entrepreneurism and, trying to, have the ability of the American dream, right? If you work hard, you can create whatever you want and get out there. And so it'll be really, really interesting to see how this new Pope takes those American sensibilities and brings them to bear as his role of the leader of the Catholic Church. So that's going to be interesting, because it was actually kind of fun to see how Pope Francis, how he took a lot of his South American culture and the friendliness and the openness and that sort of feeling to people, so that was really cool, to see that. So it'll be nice to see what happens here. I remember the first time there was one of the, I guess it was Pope John Paul II, right? He was the first Polish Pope. And that was a big deal for Poland and a lot of Eastern Europe. And it got people more interested in what was happening in the church. and more behind him. And again, he brought the sensibilities of people that have had the struggle and the hard work and the sense of community and having to work together to survive that a lot of the Poles and Czechs and the people from that area had. So yeah, whether you're Catholic or not, it's something that's still, it's a new world leader that's taken over, and it'll be really fun to see and watch. And for those of you who are inclined to pray, please send some good mojo energy and healing, whether you're a Catholic or not. Any faith, you can send some good prayers that this man will be a good shepherd and lead and use whatever influence he has to make the best improvements in the system and be there for the people in the way that they need. So, yep, Baptist, sure. So Roger is saying how he hasn't been around a lot of Catholics. Growing up in the Northeast, there's a bunch. That was the predominant religion in the Northeast where I grew up. So I was raised Catholic, so that's still near and dear to my heart. But I've also studied so many other religions and had friends and family members that were Baptists and Lutherans, and even, well, obviously Jewish friends as well. And so it's interesting to study and learn about other religions and attend other services. And, as far as I'm concerned, there's one creator, and you call him God or Allah or Heavenly Father or the source or the one or whatever you want to call that being. We're all the sons and daughters, the spiritual sons and daughters of that creator. And so, it's like many ladders leading up to one roof, right? To me, which religion people gravitate to, it's more a matter of what are the specific doctrines or practices, how do they express faith, what kind of prayers or songs or hymns are happening that help to uplift your heart and help you feel inspired to, if you're a Christian, to be more Christ-like, if you're a Jew, to follow the commandments and covenants, if you're a Muslim, how to walk in Muhammad's footsteps and praise Allah. And I'm telling you, it would not be easy. I have one friend back east who converted and became a Muslim. I'm like, girlfriend, that's a lot of praying. I mean, they get 5 times a day. They are called to prayer 5 times. I mean, most Catholics, we're complaining about having to go to church once on Sunday. And he's like, nope. So, certain religions take a very proactive stance on the participation of their members. And, some people like that. It works for them. And honestly, I believe it's our spirit resonating with, whether you want to call it the Holy Spirit or the spirit of creation, whatever that spirit is going to resonate for us and prompt us and lead us to just the right house of worship. And I know I've had this conversation with some friends not that long ago. And I said, every religion makes the claim like they are the one, right? And everybody else is going to hell if you're not part of their club. And I said, what? As a Christian, that cracks me up, because I can't imagine Jesus standing on at the pearly gates, meeting people. And here comes Mary. And she's this amazing Lutheran woman that's devoted her life to him. And she's ministered to the brothers and sisters in the church. And she's helped people in the community. And, she has just been as devout can be. Good woman all around. Can you imagine Jesus turning her way saying, you know what, Mary, I know you've lived a great life. I know you've honored me. You've chosen me as your savior, but sorry, you worshiped in the wrong building. It's really the Calvinists who have it right. It's like, what? No, of course not. But that's part of the whole political side of the churches and the bureaucratic side of the churches and the human side of the churches. So to me, whatever floats your boat, if you're a pagan and you're out there worshiping nature and following the cycles of the moon, if that makes you a better person and more effective in shining your light and sharing your love and sharing your gifts, go for it. I think it's too easy for people to judge. Hey, you're not in my club, so I don't like you, or you're not like me, so, oh, you're strange. It's like, why don't we have a little bit more love and compassion and tolerance? And even if it's not for us, whatever their particular choice is, understand that it's their choice, and it's the vehicle or the system that their soul prompted them to use in order to get closer to God, the Creator, the Holy Spirit, Spirit in general, or just to fulfill the purpose of their soul. And it may not be permanent. I've kind of drifted through several different religions over the years, depending on the relationships I was in and the different family members that were closer at that time or not. And to me, it was really about feeling the Spirit when I was in that house of worship, praising God and giving gratitude and thanks for the many blessings in my life, and taking that opportunity to tune in to Spirit and say, okay, what are my marching orders this week? Right? What do I need to be aware of? What should I be paying attention to? Who can I serve? Who can I help? Who needs me that I don't know needs me? Okay, great. Let's do it. So, anyway, so that's a little bit about the churches. The other thing, obviously timely right now, is Sunday is Mother's Day. So y'all, if you have a mother that is still on this side of the veil, you might want to make sure that you honor her and give thanks to her. And I don't care if you're not talking with her, you suck it up, Buttercup, and you go get a card and you mail it if you don't want to call her, but you do something nice, because your mama went through something to have you, right? And by the way, we choose our parents. We knew that mom was going to be our mom. Good, bad, wonderful, or ugly, right? That's our mom. And so it's really important for us to do our best to take this day. And yeah, I know it's a Hallmark holiday, right? Doesn't matter. It's still a day that we have commemorated and put a stake in the ground that said, hey, hold on. I was like, hey, Manchester, England, welcome. That's cool. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Let's see. Yep, I was going to do that. So it's a time for us to just use that reminder as an opportunity to express our love and express our gratitude and really go with that. One of the other things that if your mom is not on this side of the veil, like my mom had passed back in 2015. I can't believe it's going to be 10 years this year that she's been gone on that side. But honoring them, honor their memory, right? For some, back to circling around to religious traditions, it's a time to go to the cemetery and clean up the headstone and plant flowers and, make that look pretty and talk there. Now I know, we all know, we spiritual people know, you don't have to go to the cemetery to talk to them. You can just talk to them. But there's something nice about that tradition for some people of, okay, here's where I'm going, and this is where their remains are. And Spirit can also stay very close to their remains at times. And so it's a way that people connect. So you can do that. You can go on Facebook and post pictures of your mom from the past and post some of your memories. And if you're a mom yourself and you are not feeling the warm fuzzies from other people, just do what you can to acknowledge yourself, right? Maybe your kids are too young, or they've moved away, or maybe they're estranged. It doesn't mean that you did a bad job as a mom. You did the job that your spirit was contracted to do. And so, yeah, if you did the best you could at the time with the resources you had, that was your job. That's it. That's all you need to do. So somebody was just asking if Mary's in the house. So I'm not sure about that. Chris, is Mary in the house? Just want to say hi. Somebody's looking for her.
Yeah, she is. She's actually doing a spiritual healing right now on somebody.
Okay, so we're gonna just give a good nod to Mary and send that good energy her way. All right. So anyway, back to, if you are that mom, and if you're a mom that's struggling and feeling like, oh, I suck at this, I'm not a good mom, I need to be better. That's like anything else in our lives, right? First thing is just getting that awareness. Then we need to look at and say, okay, what can I do one step at a time, one day at a time, to move more in the direction of the person I want to become. And if that person is a celebrity on YouTube, okay, you got to get out there, right? Got to make a lot of videos. You want to be the best businessman there is. Okay, you need to get out there and invent something or market yourself better. And if you want to be the best mom in the world, there's certain people you can model after, look to see like who had a similar kind of upbringing as you, who had a similar kind of socioeconomic condition as you, and kind of, take it from there. And then say, okay, what did they do? How did they figure things out? And then you can also pray and meditate and open up and ask spirit and your guides and loved ones, like, okay, how can I be better at this? Is it more patience? Is it being more proactive? Is it being stricter? One of the biggest struggles so many parents have these days is the pendulum has swung so much from when I was a kid and the way I was raised to the way society accepts behaviors with moms and fathers interacting with their kids today. I mean, back in the day, I knew if I spoke out of line, I was getting a bar of soap in my mouth, right? Back in the day, I knew if I really screwed up, I was probably going to get a spanking, okay? Or a punishment of some sort, right? I might have gotten grounded or restrictions from things I liked, like TV at the time, or couldn't go out and play with my friends, that's grounded, right? So, but I'm talking to parents these days, they're like, oh no, we can't do that. You can't, that would be considered child abuse now. So I'm like, ooh, okay. But how do you still get the boundaries and limitations and transfer? Thank you. They transfer the responsibility or the accountability to the kids. They haven't figured out how to do that. And so a lot of the kids today don't know how to be resilient. They don't know how to take accountability and responsibility. And so it makes parenting that much more challenging because it's like the whole rules of the game have changed over the last few decades. I was going to say centuries. I'm not that old. So, hey, so I've been talking a little bit about the Catholic Church and about the new Pope and about Mother's Day. I'd love to see some comments from you guys and let me know, what you're thinking. Okay, Roger's saying he was at McDonald's once and there's a family there and the kids acted better than the parents did. Well, amen. Well, somebody did right by those kids, so that's good. But yeah, are the kids today modeling other folks? So I'd love to hear some of your opinions in the chat. What do you think about Mother's Day? Do you have a feeling or thought about the new Pope? Before I go on to the topic for tonight and our topic of spiritually fighting for fairness and go through the messages for today, just want to see if anybody has any comments they'd like to share about what does Mother's Day mean to them? What do they like about it? What do they struggle with? Or if you'd like to make a comment about the new Pope, and is that even something that you can see affecting you or your life in any way? So let's give a second for some comments. Flash. My dog has comments, apparently. Flash. Buddy, that was just me. So my wonderful watchdog didn't notice when a friend of mine actually came into the house, and it wasn't until we were halfway up the stairs, but I put my cup of tea down on the counter next to me, and now all of a sudden he's in Cujo mode. Mr. Flash. Well, lay down, buddy. You go kennel, okay? Be a good boy. Thank you. I know he's 12 and he's not quite all there as much as he used to be. He's a good boy though. All right. So I don't see any comments there. Let's see. Show comments. Let me see. Is anybody? I don't see anything else. Okay. I don't know. All right. So tonight, I want to talk a little bit about spiritual fighting for fairness. And okay, here we go. Oh, geez. Virgil, sorry to see that. Okay, his mom died. Yeah, pancreatic cancer. Yeah, that's a rough one. That's a really tough way to go. And that's one of the few that they really can't treat well with any of the chemotherapy or radiation or that sort of thing. So yeah, my prayers are with you there, sir. That's awful. But one of the things, with most Catholics, one of the keys there, like with most Catholic, most Christian religions, is that we know and believe that we will be reunited with our loved ones on the other side of the veil. And some people call it heaven and some people call it nirvana, but we believe that on that other side, we will have that reunion. And so when somebody is suffering, like your mom did there, Virgil, in some ways, it can be a blessing when they pass over because at least their suffering is over. But it still sucks to lose your mom, and it still is painful to have to deal with the loss of someone who is so influential. And that kind of cancer usually is fast. I had an great uncle who came down with pancreatic cancer. And from the time he was diagnosed, which we thought was fairly early, to the time he died, it was only 4 months. And so it was just like, what? How could it be that fast? And it can be for certain types. So we definitely send you some good prayers and good mojo. And just think fondly of her. And one of the best things that we can do to honor our moms is to talk about some of the funny things. How was your mom quirky? All right. What is some of the funniest things she ever said or did? What was the most embarrassing thing she ever said or did? What was the most tender, loving moment you can remember that you shared with her, right? Talking to people about that and posting it if you want, or just, sharing it, or just even remembering it yourself and kind of taking a few moments to dwell upon the beauty of that soul that was your mom. That's a wonderful way. And yeah, especially if the passing was really recent, it's that much harder when this is one of the first holidays, right? The birthdays, Mother's Day, Christmas, all the holidays, right? Because mom is the matriarch and typically the one who drives all the social gatherings and is so influential, during making all those things happen, that their absence is felt tremendously. And sometimes it's even hard for other females in the family to kind of step up and try to put on that mantle of, okay, mom's gone, but we want to keep the traditions alive because those meant so much to her. So, just do the best you can, whether it's really recent or even like in my case where it's been 10 years. And for some people, it could be many, many more. This is a part. Oh, you're welcome. This is a part of death is the part of life that reminds us to live, honestly, right? If we didn't have people with terminal diagnoses that start to step back from it and say, oh, wait a minute, I don't have time to waste. I can't suffer the fools. I have to focus on what's important. And, we all are terminal, guys. I don't know anybody. Well, I personally don't know anybody who's not had to go through that process, right? Or will have to go through that process. I don't know too many people that have even claimed like, oh yeah, I'm just going to transcend and, I'm not going to have to die. I'm just going to, turn into my other spirit self. And, it's fun in the movies. We see that, right? In some of the Jedi movies and in, even in some of the Thor movies, right? Where Odin, is there 1 minute and he says, okay, it's time for me to go. And next thing you know, there's all this like stardust, glittering in the sky. And you're like, oh, Odin's gone, right? So supposedly when we get to a certain level of mastery, we can choose to have our spirit leave our body. And I do remember reading things about ancient cultures where that was the case. When it was time for the shaman to go, they would go out into the plains and they'd say their goodbyes and they go out into the plains and leave their body behind and their spirit went on. So, that's something to be evolved to. But I think the reminder that death presents for us and the opportunity that it presents for us it's a reminder not to waste our time, to focus the time that we do have on what's important and what can really help us going forward. You know, what do we want to be? What do we want to be paying attention to? How far on our? Oh, hey, John. How far are we along with the progress our soul wanted us to make in this lifetime? So, all right. So before I get too far into the topic for tonight, I'd like to go through the message. So for those of you who are our loyal, wonderful followers and fans here, and you tune in each week or you tune in to each episode, you know, one of the things I do is I pray and I ask Spirit to give us a message, and I throw a few angel cards and oracle cards, and I share that message. And it doesn't matter. It's really kind of spooky cool, because it doesn't matter if you're listening to this live tonight or whether you're listening to this a week from now, a month from now, or a year from now. When you hear this episode or watch this episode, hopefully this message is going to resonate with you and you'll be like, oh, that was the perfect message to hear at this time. So that's at least our intention, right? And that's what we ask Spirit for, something that transcends space and time, and it will touch the hearts and minds and souls of anybody who happens to hear it. So the first card that I chose is the card of commitment. And I'm going to do something here. I'm going to change the little view here. I think I'm going to choose just me. Yay, I did it. Woohoo. So you can see the card a little better. So the card here is commitment. Okay, I can bring Grizz back now. There you go. All right, it back. So the card of commitment says, Angel Wisdom reminds you that when you aim for a vision without doubt or deviation, it must succeed. Your guidance is to persevere towards your vision. Let every thought, word, and action be directed towards your desired outcome. Nothing is more powerful than focused energy, and your angels will see the pure light of your commitment, whether it is to a relationship, a piece of work, a journey, or anything else in your life. Remember to ask your angels for help, and know when you dedicate your intention to the highest good, they will support you. I'm going to take a little, sure. So angel cards. So Virgil was asking, could I please explain precisely what an angel card is? So the angel cards, they're called an oracle deck, and oracles are cards that you choose. And so there's a whole deck, and this one, I think there's about 50 or so in the deck. And so what you do when you're using any of these kind of decks or cards is you quiet your mind, you ask for a message to come, you shuffle, and then you're prompted when to stop, and you flip over that card, and that's the message for that. So I use 3 different decks of oracle cards. I use 2 different angel ones. And so the themes are very angel focused. It's about if your angel was sitting next to you and had something to share with you, what would they say? The next deck that I use is actually an archangel deck. And it's also messages. And the one, same kind of thing, right? So it's a deck with lots of cards. So I shuffle them up. And then this particular one that came up for tonight was the card of entrepreneur. And this one says, self-employment suits your disposition and intentions. Working for yourself allows you to better follow your intuition and divine guidance. We are your co-workers and teammates who remain loyally by your side to ensure your success in all ways. So those 2 actually go very nicely together, right? One follows the next. So when you have that, when you have that sense of commitment, and you have that sense of being clear about what you want, your angels can help you and they can partner with you. And whether it's a true entrepreneur where you have you're your own boss and you don't have a conventional job where you go from 9 to 5 or whatever the shift might be, but you can also have an entrepreneurial spirit where there's other projects or businesses or side hustles that come to your awareness that you're like, hey, you know what? I think I want to make a little extra money so we can have a better vacation this year, or we can buy a newer car, or we can pay off our debt quicker and have that peace of mind, right? So whatever that entrepreneurial spirit is, your angels are reminding you, hey, don't forget to include us. We're part of the team here. The next deck that I use, that's an oracle card. It's a really cool deck, and I actually know the man who created this deck. And it's called a mandala oracle deck because all of the particular cards are different mandalas. And what happened here was the mandalas came through an artist in Japan, and they were then, the photographs of those mandalas were sent to my friend in Sedona. And what he did is he sat for anywhere from a week to a month with each one and meditated on it, and then got like, okay, what does this particular picture represent? What does this mean? What card? And that was the background story of how those particular cards came into being. But I really like the feel of the cards. I like the look of them. And the one that I chose for today that came up was the card of acceptance. And this says, be receptive and willing. Open your eyes to truth. Only by being real can you understand what is needed. Be prepared to move when the right choice appears, right? So again, you can kind of see how things flow, right? You have the sense of commitment. You're putting out into the universe, this is my intention. This is what I want. This is what I need. This is where I welcome help. The entrepreneurial spirit says, hey, it might not be the normal 9-to-5 type thing, but this is what I'd like you to partner with me and help bring into manifesting into my life. And then the acceptance is saying, be receptive and willing, right? Because a lot of times we forget to open ourselves up in order to receive what's coming through. The next cards that I use as oracles are actually the Aquarian Tarot deck. And there's 78 cards, and they have all kinds of different suits and meanings. And I go back, and I've been using this particular deck for many, many years. And so I picked 3 cards there. So when you use an oracle card, Virgil, what you can do is you can pick a single card. You can ask a question and pick a card to get insight, like I did here using those 3 different decks. And then you can also use like cards like the tarot, and you can ask for insights or wisdom based on past, present, and future around whatever the topic is that you're trying to get some clarity. So I then chose 3 cards, past, present, and future, to be informed about the now. And so Virgil says, I've never been short of money, but I love Grizzly shows. How do you know who your archangel is? Oh, well, this is where you can do, there's very specific types of meditations where you can invite your guides and angels to come closer to you, to talk to you, to reveal information to you. I think also there is a component in that of who do you resonate with, right? So if you read about the different archangels, Archangel Michael, for example, is the protector, right? And you might be like, he's known to have his flaming sword of justice and truth, and he's somebody that can help to cut the ties of anything negative, to protect you and your family. So you might read about Archangel Michael and go, oh wow, I really resonate with that. He must be close to me because I really feel that vibration. There's oh my goodness. I'm thinking there's got to be 20 or 30 archangels. There's whole books, that go through the different hierarchy of the angels and what they're known for and what they can do. Like Archangel Uriel is another one, maybe not as famous as Archangel Michael is there. But Uriel is one of the intellectual sources. He's a teacher. That's cool. So as the teacher, he brings wisdom and enlightenment, and he doesn't hold the sword. He holds a torch, a lit torch, right, to lead the way through wisdom and learning and understanding, right? So you can find out, just like you can find out who your guide is, you can find out who your angels are by having those meditations. But a big clue will be, who do you resonate with? So if you Google online the list and the qualities of all the archangels, some of them are going to pop off the page at you and be like, oh, wait, this one really gravitates to me. And archangels are above the regular angels, right? There's a hierarchy in the angel kingdom. And so you might not have a specific archangel that's assigned to you, right? But if there's a certain need, that archangel will come to you. We all have guardian angels that are with us from conception till we cross back over to the other side, right? And then there's angels you can invite to be around you, day to day, that are there to help you and swoop on in, when you need it. But yeah, that's so. As far as knowing a specific angel, that's a personal process and revelation. And be careful about going to a psychic and saying, oh, can you tell me who my angel is? Yeah, they could tune in and get it, but you want to make sure you take ownership from, does it make sense to you? Does it feel right in your heart? Does it ring true in your gut? So if it goes ding, ding, ding in all three places, okay. If they say that Archangel Gabriel is your guy, wonderful. So be it, right? But if they pick a name and they say, oh, and this is your Archangel Raphael, and Raphael is one of the big ones for healers, right? So I know some people just do a generalization and say, well, if you're in the healing arts and you are doing something to physically, mentally, or spiritually help heal people, then Archangel Raphael is your angel, right? So you can also take a clue from what's your occupation, right? Archangel Michael, he's the protector. Well, what are the fields of people that protect us? Police officers, right? Grizz, you were a detective once upon a time. Did you have an affinity for Archangel Michael back in the day?
Yeah, we had them on our dash. We had coins in our pocket in our uniforms for protection.
Yeah. Right.
Prayed to them all the time.
That's very cool, right? So a lot of times your profession will also give a clue to you about which archangel is closer to you or inspiring you. Okay, so the last little bit of the messages for today. So the 3 cards from the tarot deck. We have the 8 of Rods, and this talks about using your intuition to get your stuff organized. It's like, hey guys, if we're trying to get somewhere as we're progressing, you can't have 8 people in the boat all pulling the oars in different directions at different times. Everyone has to be going, okay, everyone together and stroke and pull and stroke and pull, and one person steering the boat. And who should be steering your boat? You should be steering the boat, right? Because you're the one who has that soul purpose. You know the direction your life is supposed to go in, or what your soul wants you to be expressing. Okay, the next is what's happening right now. And honestly, right now, we're all kind of dealing with balance issues, right? We're trying to figure out there's a lot of contrary forces out there, a lot of pulling at us in different ways. And part of what we need to do is figure out, how do we come to a point of balance despite the craziness in the world around us? And I know we talked about this in other episodes as well. But one of the things to do is look at the 5 aspects. And the 5 aspects of balance are your money and toys, your health, your relationships with others, your spirituality, and time, that balance of work, rest, and play. So if you hear that list and go like, balance of work, rest, and play, I have no time to play. Okay, that's a hint. Let's get that in balance, right? Use your intuition, get the team all pulling together, focus on what you need to get balanced. And what that leads us to, the future, is justice. That is the karmic justice of you reap from what you sow, right? You plant the good seed, you get the good harvest. Especially if you plant a good seed and you tend to it, you weed around it, you're paying attention to it, you're watering it, making sure it's getting good sun, right? It's not I plant a seed once and then I can walk away. For any of y'all that have done any gardening, you know, it is much more involved than just throw a seed in the ground and then, you know, whoops, look, there's vegetables in 3 months, right? We have to work at it. And then I didn't pre-do it. I figured I'd pop open to see what came to us today. And what I opened up to was the channeled writing called Infinity. Our finite minds try to grasp the ungraspable we have created. Through volition, acts of choice, and grace, we find ourselves in this present time and in this place. The gift of life, of conscious awareness, of who we are and why we are here is a sacred journey shared by all. Despite infinite expressions, the truth remains the same. We are all one, and through love, we help each other to find our way back home. So this is Portal to Potential. It's a book that I published a year ago of writings that came through Spirit. I basically was taking dictation and writing as fast as I could. And it's filled with inspirational thoughts, as well as chapters that ask questions to ponder, to help you get back on track in your life, to make sure you're living the full measure of your creation, and even just asking questions about, like, who are you anyway? What are you doing with your life? How are you cultivating the gifts, your spiritual gifts? How are you shining your love? How are you being kind to yourself as well as one another? And then there's some random thoughts about things like there's no judgment in spirit. So it's so important that we forgive each other. Okay. So on that note, I want to get to the spiritual fighting for fairness, right? And one of the hardest things that I know I have a trouble with is when I see bullies, or I'm on the receiving end of bullies. So there's a lot of negativity that can come our way. And we can look at it as, hey, look, a moth is attracted to the flame, right? And if we're shining our light, we're going to get these insects that come into our life every now and again to kind of just be a pest, right? That's what bugs are called. They bug us. They're pests. What's really important is we don't let that negativity derail us from our purpose or dim our light in any way or distract us from living that purpose-driven life that we have, which is to actualize what our soul wants us to be doing, what wants to be expressed, what creativity wants to come out, what gifts can we share, what light can we shine. So I've had a couple of instances in my life where I've been bullied, and I responded badly, honestly, both times in hindsight. The first time I fought back, and this was literally a girl when I was in grade school, and she was bullying me, and I thought she was my friend, and next thing you know, cat fight. Yeah, I mean, we're like scratching and clawing and biting and pulling hair and, like, you know, crazy time, right? But that was not a very spiritual way to address being bullied, but that was my instinct. Now, I grew up in Yonkers, New York, and it's like, you know what, if you want to get respect, sometimes you got to just show a little toughness, right? Not back down. So that was, I can understand why I did it, but in hindsight, I wish I was a little more evolved at the time and didn't do that. The other time, I was actually abused by a partner, and I started as verbal abuse and controlling certain things, controlling my interactions with other people, controlling what I've done. And yeah, I got gangsta. You're right. You know, when I got to pull it out, I can pull it out. But I'd like to think I'm past that. But if I need it, yeah, I can be pretty, I can be tough when I need to be. And so when I was experiencing a lot of this abuse, verbal abuse, and eventually it turned to some physical abuse, I kept making excuses because I loved this person. I cared about this person. And it was just once in a while, right? It just happened once in a while. It wasn't, there would be a raging, there would be something that happened. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I triggered it, or I was taking responsibility for it at first. I was not standing up for myself. I was not making them accountable for their bad behavior. And when they would apologize later, if they did, I would be like, oh, okay, I would accept their excuses. Thank you. And so I know there's a lot of bullying that goes on now politically. There's a lot that goes on socially. There's even bullying that happens in the name of righteousness. It's called cancel culture, right? People that believe that they're on the right side and they've made up their minds that this business should be closed or this person is bad or whatnot, right? So I think it's really important for us, if we are on the receiving end of bullying, to not let it destroy our soul or to distract us or dim our light. Yeah. Amy Sharon, after all these years, she feels bad about stuff you said in grade school, right? Yeah. I mean, sometimes we say things, out of fear, out of anger, just because we just don't know any better. Yeah. And narcissism, right? Narcissists tend to, and when you say that,
Absolutely.
I think back to the person that was abusing me. And in hindsight, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize what a narcissist he was. And it was all about him. And if I didn't meet up, well, I wasn't good enough. So I deserved whatever the punishment was that I was getting. And it was not about me at all. It was really about him and his projections and his insecurities, right? So when I look at bullies now, and there's lots going on right out in the culture, the best way to deal with it in many ways is to avoid it. Don't put yourself in that position. If you find yourself in the presence of one, remove yourself from that position. If you're in a relationship with somebody who's doing that, I will tell you right now, it is not something you can fix just by letting time go by. You can't pray it away. You can't wait it out. Once they've crossed that line to abuse and being bad in their behaviors towards you and their words towards you, there's really not a lot of getting things back on track. And so honestly, I think I would spiritually ask you to meditate on it, pray on it, and get yourself out of that situation. And if you're like, oh no, but I love him or her and I really don't want, to end this. Okay. If you can't win, oh, there you go. Right. If you can't win, if they're not even willing to go to counseling or to be honest when they're, doing some kind of therapy together with you, they don't see it. They don't see it in themselves. And many times they are non-apologetic. I can think of a certain politician who is never wrong. And even when he's wrong, he's still right. Right. And that's part of his shtick. It's like, never apologize. And that's what they were teaching, in business school, to never say you're wrong, never apologize, because it makes you vulnerable. It's like, yeah, but you know what? In real life, in a relationship, it's good to be vulnerable, right? That's what that intimacy is about. That's what that connection is about. So if you find yourself in that situation with the bully where you're being bullied, one of two things. One is get yourself out of it, or if you can safely do so, you stand up to the bully. Because most bullies, when they're confronted about their bad behavior or tactics, and they're forced to look at that mirror through your eyes, it can sometimes shock them into being a better person. It can sometimes end that craziness that's going on. So what I would say is, ask for help, and sometimes also ask for ask for professional advice. One of my dearest friends recommended, there was a YouTube video of this female doctor, psychotherapist, talking all about the nature of narcissistic relationships and the impact on the non-narcissistic spouse or partner. And I watched a few of them and I'm like, whoa, it just like really blew my mind. And I was like, okay, so there's all kinds of stuff out there that you can watch or listen to, even if you don't have the resources to go to a therapist yourself or a counselor yourself, and just kind of bouncing things off other people. Like, hey, is it normal? Does your husband or boyfriend do this? Does your wife or girlfriend do that? Just talking to people and finding out, like, I just thought this was usual. I didn't know that this isn't happening all the time. And then when somebody hears that and they're like, oh, no. Now you have an ally. Now you have somebody who can be that support system for you. Because one of the things a bully tries to do is alienate you from other people. They tend to be very controlling of your time and who they'll let you be with outside of their influence. And so, there's lots of red flags to see on that. But the biggest thing that we can do is not allow that behavior, not to take it on as though, oh, it's my fault. If I was better or more loving, he wouldn't abuse me. If I was better or more loving, she would not hurt me the way that she's hurting me. If I was a better man or a better provider, she would be a better wife. If I was a better woman, he wouldn't be having affairs. No, it's not necessarily your lack that's creating their bad behavior. So be really careful before you take on the burden and responsibility of the other person's bad behavior and trying to say, oh, well, it's my fault. Take a really hard look at that and say, wait a minute, what did you say or do that might, in any other relationship that would have been perceived as poking the bear? And if you weren't intentionally poking the bear and trying to elicit a response out of that partner, and they just erupt and make it that you're the reason why, there's something else going on there. And you do not want that to become a distraction or to hurt you or to prevent you from shining your light and being the wonderful person that you are in the world. Remember, if you're watching or listening to this show, you have a purpose. You have a light to shine. You have spiritual gifts to share. You have that mission of kindness. You're part of the kindness brigade, right? Go out there each week and figure out, how can you be kinder to the people in your life? How can you practice acts of kindness to other people? How can you help others? How can your light help other people out of the darkness? How can your experiences in the quicksand and how you finally figured out how to get out of it help your friend or neighbor who's in quicksand now, right? So, we're here to help each other. And when you're getting shut down by the bullies, and by the way, if one of you that's listening here tonight happens to be the bully, and you're like, geez, I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I explode. Please pray on it. Please go talk to a therapist, talk to a trusted advisor, talk to somebody that can be a mentor to you to help you figure out, okay, what is it about me that gets triggered because I don't like that version of myself when I start to rage or I go into anger or I take advantage of this wonderful partner. And instead of being loving and supportive, I turn into this evil version of myself, right? And, we all have moments, guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, right? We all have moments where we okay, I wish I had a do-over. Well, we do have a do-over most of the time, right? We have those moments of the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. Okay, we learn, we love, we move on. That's our job, right? You don't give yourself a guilt trip about it. You just resolve and resign yourself that I'm going to do better at this next time. Okay, so speaking of next time, we're already at the hour. Man, this time goes flying by, guys.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
So fast.
Thank you for joining us again. I do want to make an announcement, though. can I tell them about the new Monday show? Is that okay to announce it before it's like
Yeah,
official?
absolutely.
So here's the fun. I'm going to be hosting a Monday morning show, 9:00 Eastern, and it's going to be called Grace and the Grind. And it's going to focus a little bit more on the practical sides, the life coaching sides of how do you get through life and your day with some spiritual overtones. So it's the complement to this show. So this show is spiritual street talk. It's focusing on all the spiritual aspects and bringing in and peppering into the real world and what do you have to go through in your life. But the focus is on the spirituality. That show, the focus is going to be on day-to-day living. What are you dealing with? What questions do you have? How can we help get a start? And so it's the grace that can come as we're trying to go through our day and the grind of that day and that week. So feel free to look for us. It's going to start on Memorial Day, and we're going to go from there. So please do join us. And thank you. Yes, John, life is learning. And
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything you want to add there, Grizz, before we end the show tonight?
No, it's been a fabulous show. I can't wait to see the new show to begin.
Okay.
And like I always say, from coast to coast around the world, Godspeed, everybody. We'll see you on
All
the
right.
next
We love you. Thanks for joining us. And remember to click, share, like, subscribe, all that good social media stuff. Tell your friends. We love y'all. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
My God.